Thanks very much. As you get slowly further down the panel, you start to throw away various points that you thought you were going to make. So I'm going to try to be as brief as possible to really encourage some debate. But I suppose one of the reasons why I was invited to come, and I'm really pleased to be here, not just on behalf of mine, but also working with a number of disability charities as we do, is to kind of create and help stimulate that dialogue that I think we really need to have with members of the union movement. And I think we're really pleased that this dialogue really feels like it's gathering some pace and some momentum. And you know, we're not always going to agree on everything, but I think there are huge amounts of issues, particularly at the present time, where we have a huge amount of consensus and agreement about what are the issues that face union members and our beneficiaries. Because of course, let's not forget that union members are our beneficiaries sometimes, and our beneficiaries are often union members. So we're not talking about different people here, we're often talking about the same people. I'm also really pleased to be able to have a chance perhaps to give this a perspective here really from the view of people with mental health problems and to an extent people who experience disabilities. And there are people in the room who I'm sure will want to express their own views about this, and that's really important that we do that. But one of the things that we've noticed over the last few months is the real challenge, the significant challenge that is being faced by people with disabilities in the current environment. And so, like everybody else, you can tell we're good at taking a brief. We've been asked to talk about 3 challenges and 3 solutions, so here goes. My first challenge, and it won't, as I said, there's fortunately quite a lot of overlap. I think the first challenge is the question of employment. I don't think there's any doubt that employment feels like, being in work feels like an increasingly fragile place to be at the moment. And if you're in work, or maybe if you're applying for work, and you have a mental health problem, are you likely to tell your employer? Well, lots of people are telling us they're extremely unlikely to tell their employer that they have a mental health problem. And what happens if you do that? Well, then you don't get the same protection from the legislation that you're entitled to as a result of the hard work that's gone in by many generations to improve the rights of people who have disabilities and mental health problems in the workplace. And so for many people, employment is incredibly important to their well-being. People with mental health problems have one of the highest want-to-work rates of any groups in our community. And yet employment increasingly feels like something that is distant, and being in employment creates and brings with it its own stresses and strains. And we know from the work we do at Mind, both supporting people who don't have a job and supporting people who do have a job and are experiencing a mental health problem, around some of the real challenges around that at the moment. And with the economic environment as it is at the moment, with jobs increasingly hard to come by, and of course for those people who are left behind by rounds of redundancy, that whole challenge for people is a very major one. And it's a major one for our mental health, and it's also something that is going to have to be addressed by us, by unions and by employers to really support people in the workplace. So my second point is about the question of equality and inequality. And as other speakers have already mentioned, what we are seeing at the moment is not so much one piece of reform, it's the sheer weight of reform that is affecting so many disabled people, people with mental health problems, all at the same time, we've done in recent months, that many people's lives are built on extremely fragile structures. People who perhaps receive their support from a little bit of NHS care, a little bit of local authority care, a DLA or an incapacity benefit as it once was, plus support from friends and family and the rest of society around them. And for many people, each one of those individual components makes the difference between being well or being ill, being able to go out or not being able to go out, being perhaps in work or not being in work, being at home or being in hospital. Those are the kinds of challenges that we know that people are facing at the moment. And then thirdly, something that I think possibly the voluntary sector has always been fantastically good at is about the way in which we work. We do great things for not very much money. We've become very good at that. Now, I don't think we should undervalue what we do in the sector. We should absolutely not undervalue what we do in the sector, but I'm always amazed. Our local mine network, 160 local mines, all forms of shapes and sizes. There's almost certainly one in your local community. Some of them are big, some of them are small, some of them are just voluntary, some of them have significant numbers of staff. But what they do, whenever I go there, they make the best of the resources they've got. And they do that by being focused on what their job is and by working collectively and collaboratively with others. So, I think we can, one thing that constantly impresses me about the work that we do in this sector is our resilience. Health sector service reform, we're used to that. That happens all the time. We cope, we get on with it, and we manage, and we focus on our beneficiaries. And that's got to be the thing that we do well, and not just well, we've got to do it excellently in the course of the next few years, because if there's ever a time for when our beneficiaries need us as organisations, it's now. Thanks very much.